What if I told you that when World War II ended, the nightmare didn't stop for German soldiers? Some were thrown into brutal labor camps, others vanished behind Soviet lines, and thousands struggled to find food or even prove they weren't Nazis. Their lives turned upside down overnight. Once feared warriors, now hunted men. These are the shocking, little-known stories that history books rarely tell. Buckle up, because the war may have ended in 1945, but for many German soldiers, the real struggle was only beginning. 7 unbelievable things that happened to German soldiers after World War II. 1. Millions became prisoners of war. When Germany surrendered in May 1945, about 11 million German soldiers laid down their arms. But instead of going home, millions were captured by the Allies. Camps in France, the US, and especially the Soviet Union overflowed. Many POWs endured harsh conditions, starvation, and forced labor. Some didn't return home until the mid-1950s, 10 years after the war ended. Imagine going to war at 20 and not seeing freedom until you were nearly 40. 2. Brutal Soviet gulags. For those unlucky enough to fall into Soviet hands, life was even harsher. The Red Army sent millions of German soldiers to gulags in Siberia and beyond. They chopped wood, mined coal, and built railroads under freezing conditions. Many froze, starved, or worked to death. Survivors remembered their time there as a second war, one without weapons but with cold, hunger, and despair. 3. Some were used as forced labor in Allied countries. In Western Europe, German soldiers were often kept as a labor force to rebuild what their army had destroyed. They paved roads, rebuilt bridges, and worked on farms in France, Britain, and the US. While not as brutal as the Soviet gulags, it was humiliating and exhausting. Imagine once being a soldier in Hitler's mighty army, now working in fields for the very people you had invaded. 4. Struggles back home, hunger and suspicion. Those who did make it home faced a ruined country. Cities like Berlin and Dresden lay in rubble, food was scarce, and families were shattered. Returning soldiers were often met with suspicion. Were you a Nazi? What did you do during the war? Many veterans hid their service to avoid shame. Instead of being celebrated, they carried guilt, silence, and trauma for decades. 5. Secret lives and silent wars. Some soldiers tried to start fresh lives abroad, blending into new societies in South America or North America. Others lived quietly, never speaking of the war again. In many families, the fathers and grandfathers who came back never told their children what they had seen or done. For decades, their memories were locked away, creating a silent shadow over post-war Germany. The war ended, but for many of them, the battlefield never left their minds. 6. Children of the enemy. Many German soldiers who were stationed in occupied countries during the war left behind children with local women. After the war, these children were often shunned as enemy kids. The soldiers themselves carried the guilt of broken families, never being able to acknowledge their children or reunite. For some, the war had left behind not just scars, but bloodlines spread across Europe. 7. Trials, executions, and denazification. Not every soldier got to quietly return home. Thousands were dragged into war crime trials during the Allied denazification process. While top Nazi leaders faced the spotlight at Nuremberg, ordinary soldiers were interrogated, shamed, and sometimes executed. Even those who had little choice in fighting were lumped together with war criminals. For many, freedom after the war was replaced with courts, prisons, and punishment. The story of German soldiers after World War II is a reminder that history is never simple. Yes, they fought for a regime that brought devastation, but after the war, they too faced hunger, captivity, and despair. Some survived against all odds, while others never returned home. Their stories remind us that when wars end on paper, they live on in the hearts and lives of those who fought them. So here's the question. Was the war truly over in 1945, or did it simply take on a different form for those who survived? Let me hear your thoughts in the comments section, and please do well to support my channel by liking and subscribing for more beautiful videos like this. Thank you. See you in the next video.